here for good, how to find it, what to look for. These are all the things we'll kind of try to handle today and kind of work through. And know that what I talked about today is not completely comprehensive, and it's not targeted at any specific industry or job function, but just a kind of a chance for us to talk about remote work. So here's our roadmap. We'll first talk a little bit about perspective in reality, particularly in the times, the pandemic times that we're in, and some things that'll kind of help prime us for the conversation. We'll talk a little bit about pros and cons of working remote, and some things to think about if this is something you want to continue doing or you want to look at doing in your career. We're going to take a look at the job search timeline, which is a way to kind of think about how to look for jobs, and then we'll put that into the remote context, how to look for remote work, how to find that remote work, what resources exist, and then we're actually going to talk about a virtual recruiting opportunity you all have as alum to take advantage of here at the end of the summer. So it's kind of a roadmap. Please stop me at any time if you have questions. Just put them in the chat. Claire will kind of look through those for us and stop me as things come up. So to kind of get a little primer for where you all are, for those of you that have been working remote, what have been the pros and cons for you? And if you're not working remote but want to, why? So kind of put that into the chat. I'm gonna go silent here for about a minute or two, and I'll start reading those off as they come in. All right, some good ones have come in. I'm just going to read a few of these off. Less time spent commuting, more flexible hours, but a con could be missing human contacts. Seeing people in person. Freedom to work from anywhere. That's good. Learning lots of new tools. Ability to be more inclusive. Good. Thank you for sharing. Less people interactions, so that could be a con. No choice. Education went to remote learning, so a lot of times, we were just forced into this. I'm about to talk about that. A pro, flexibility in balancing home and work life, flexibility, need discipline to work from home. So that's kind of something you really have to work on. I feel like remote work is results driven and not so much punching a time clock. So it's about taking advantage of the time you have. I like knowing I'm respected to manage my own time. So that autonomous feeling your boss or department can give you. Can wear what you want on the lower half, so comfy pants. Thanks for sharing, Claire. A con, no separation from your home and workspace. So good. How do you separate work from your daily life? More quiet time to devote to strategic thought planning without distractions. That's a good one. Thanks for sharing, Liz. So keep putting them in there if you'd like. Those are all really good, and I think those are all things we'll kind of talk about today as you think about working remotely yourself. All right, so first, perspective. I think it's important to know a lot of us were forced into remote work here in the last 5-6 months. And this particular tweet really kind of hit it home to me. So what we're all experiencing now is not normal, typical remote working, right? We're in a pandemic. Many people have children at home. Many cannot leave their homes. Everyone's distracted at some level. So do remember that when forming your beliefs about working from home. I think that's important, right? So perspective. I really like this quote from Gartner, who said, "We're being forced into the world's largest work from home experiment," and it really hasn't been easy. And I think a lot of you guys talked about that in your statements. Some funny memes. Working from home, what friends think I do, sleep in, what clients think I do, sleep in even longer. Getting tax write-offs for things you buy, what your mom thinks that you do, taking care of the kiddos, what you think you do, which is doing everything, and what you're really doing is just trying to survive, right? So we've all seen some of these, but I think it's important to know that perspective exists. Some of the work from home stuff is very different now than it was pre-pandemic, and definitely think about that as you consider working from home permanently, or you're just using this time to kind of figure out and strategize on what's next for you in your career. So a couple job search, pandemic job search realities. These are things you just kind of need to know right now. Patience and resiliency right now are the most important skills to showcase. So if you're applying for new positions, if you're looking for things out there, any way that you can showcase patience and resiliency, tell your story. Certain industries, of course, have been hit harder than others in this pandemic. Some have come back strong, some haven't. So if you have kind of dream goals, dream ideas of what you want to do, if the reality is that industry isn't hiring right now, you just have to think about how your skills can be used in other industries and facets. So you have to be a little flexible right now. Recruitment disruption is real. So I'm going to talk a little bit later about how you research on how industries do, how they hire and what their timeline is. Know that a lot of that's disrupted right now. We had a panel of employers on my last session, and they talked a lot about that. And also know competition is fierce, right? There's lots of people looking for jobs. So you keep those things in mind, that'll help you in your mindset if you're thinking about trying to find remote work or make it more permanent. So a lot of those things you guys already hit on the pros and cons of remote work. So things like flexible schedules, working from anywhere, you can travel and work from anywhere, more time with friends and family. You can avoid some of the office politics. That could be a pro or a con. You have more free time to maybe exercise or do hobbies because you're not commuting and you're not, maybe so worried about punching the clock, as Stephanie said. Some cons could be unplugging from work can be difficult. I found this difficult for me in the first month, just really separating work from home. Loneliness, if you thrive on that interaction, if you're that extrovert that gets their energy from people, particularly in person, you might not get that. Of course, there's lots of distractions, right? We've all seen the funny videos of kids walking into meetings, dogs, so there's just more at home to think about. Motivation can feel differently than it is at work, and infrastructure is different. Having the technology, having the Wi-Fi needs, all the things that you might have become accustomed to in the office might be a little harder to achieve. So we've hit on a lot of those, and it's just important for you to consider all of those options. I know for me, it was a transition. I had never worked from home. I had always worked in an office, and I'm someone that really likes to separate work from home. So when I'm at home, I like to be all in at home, and when I'm at work, I like to be all in at work. And those first couple months was a struggle. So really figuring that out. You do get into a rhythm though, and I think you start to figure out some things and get where you need. So I bet other people have had similar experiences. All right, so I actually did a presentation on this, so I'm not going to do a full-blown job search timeline presentation, but I wanted to put the job search timeline out there so people know kind of what it takes to get any job, whether it's remote or whatever. And then we're going to hit on a few of these specifically related to remote work. So the job search timeline typically starts with defining your job targets, what you're looking for, what types of industries, and including that you're going to be looking for remote work. Then you go out and network, you build relationships with people, you look at those relationships you already built, you think about the skills and competencies that are required for those job targets, you consider the hiring methods, then you actually apply. I think a lot of people think you start there, but it's actually the fifth step. You interview, you follow up, and you finish with grace. We're going to talk about a few of these and related to remote work and how to look for remote work. So defining your job target, if you are very interested in remote work, you need to know what industries and job functions hire the most remote workers. So this is from Glassdoor, one of my favorite resources that exist out there. And as you'll see from the dates, this is actually pre-pandemic. So these are the typical industries that were doing remote work before the pandemic. Now, those numbers are all thrown out of whack right now because of the pandemic, but I wanted to look at pre because I think it's important to know what industries were already doing this. So it's things like IT, insurance, pharmaceuticals and biotech, accounting, media, finance, nonprofits, aerospace and defense, which we have a lot here in Colorado, education, That was a little higher than I thought it would be. And then you kind of start working your way down the list. So this is just good to know that these are the types of industries you could potentially target if you are interested in remote work. How can your skills translate to working in these industries? Now, a lot of companies have gone to remote now because of the pandemic, and I think this slide next year will look very different. So don't get so caught up in, okay, I have to work in one of these industries. This just kind of tells you who's doing it the most and who's not. If we go to the next slide, these are kind of more the job functions that typically hire remote. So medical and health. I have an aunt who works in that industry and does all of her work from home. She's a transcriber, so that's just not needed. You don't have to show up to the hospital to do that. Computer and IT. That's the industry we all think of that kind of went remote first, the tech industry, and have people coding all over the country. Customer service roles, we've seen a huge increase in this. Amazon and others hiring people from home, full benefits. You kind of get the whole process. Education and training, sales. Sales is another field that we've seen a large increase in these types of jobs. So again, don't get so caught up in these specific ones. I just wanted to give you an idea of who typically was working remote and what companies really kind of valued that. So networking. So of course, LinkedIn is kind of the #1 tool online to network with others. And thinking about who's already working remote, you can find some of that information on LinkedIn. So I encourage you to reach out to other alum that maybe are currently working remote, and you can get some information about what their experience has been, what they like, what they don't like, and what they wish they would have known going into it, right? So take advantage of your awesome alumni connections that you have in the UCCS system. Again, LinkedIn is just one tool. Don't feel like it's the only, but it's one tool to really keep in touch with what's going on. Also, a lot of people post great articles with remote work, so you can kind of garner a lot of information about that. Skills and competencies. So these are the things that are most important to your job targets. Looking for themes within job descriptions, talking about direct experience, that all really mattered pre-pandemic. And while some of that is still important, post-pandemic, you can leverage your skills to really work into different industries, jobs that maybe you never considered. So really leverage technology. And I'm going to ask you all for advice on what you think some of the most important skills are during this remote period, or particularly if you're applying to remote work. But leverage technology. So I do a very simple activity with students and alumni who are job searching, and I'll tell them to take a job description and put it into one of the free Wordles online. So here's an example of that. So this was a marketing job, as you can guess. And what the Wordle can tell you is what words or skills are most important based off that job description. So these are the types of words you can use in your resume or cover letter to sell yourself. And so don't be afraid to take advantage of free technology that exists that can help you pinpoint what are the most important things to this company or to this position I'm applying for. So now I'm gonna stop and ask for some feedback from you all on what skills do you think are most important right now if you're applying to remote work positions? What are the things you should showcase regardless of position that you would sell? So we're going to take about a minute or two break here, and I'm going to let you guys put that into the chat. Time management, good. Thanks, Allie, for sharing. What else? Outcomes, results, so result-oriented. Good, someone mentioned that earlier. Ability to use Zoom, WebEx technology, good. Not afraid to change, adaptable, brainstorm on the fly, dig deep and dive into new solutions. Very good, Stephanie, thanks for sharing. Relationship building, thanks, Alex. These are all ability to focus and get work done on your own. People skills, tactfulness, clear communication, teamwork. You guys are hitting on all these skills. Something that I want to point out, that almost all of these skills are what we call transferable soft skills. And don't let the word soft change your mind about how important they are. These are the most important skills to sell, regardless of job, function, industry. It's really important to think about how your skills are relatable depending on the environment you're in. I think, and I think most companies think, they're the most important skills to sell during an interview. So very, very good. Thank you for sharing those kind of skills. Those are all really amazing things to sell particularly during this pandemic, and even more importantly, if you're applying to remote positions. All right, so let's talk a little bit about hiring methods. So, you know, the way companies recruit has changed a little because of the pandemic, but still some of the same processes exist. So there's some really good national job boards specifically aimed at virtual recruiting or better word, remote working. So I've listed 5 there. Those are the top 5 that I saw, but actually I pulled that from an article. You'll see the link to the article on this slide that had actually 18 job boards that are really targeted at remote work. And the best part about remote work is you can apply for companies all over the country, even internationally, because again, you're going to work from where you are. So take advantage of these resources. They're great. There's others out there. We'll explore them with you if you want to ever set up an appointment. And we'll talk a little bit about which ones might make sense for you. Now, a lot of people say, well, what about the other job boards that I know, like Indeed or Handshake, which I'm about to talk a little bit about. Almost all of the national job boards have added a place where you can search specifically for remote work. So in most job boards, you would put your location that you're targeting. Now they'll have a location that says remote work. So that's helpful. So with Handshake, just to make sure you all know about that, Handshake is a new software that the University of Colorado Springs adopted in January, February timeframe. So right before the pandemic, it was good timing. And these are companies that we vet. So we have a strong sense of who's coming in, what types of jobs are being posted. And they're specifically saying we want UCCS students or alumni. So that's always a good sign for you. Handshake has added the remote work option to search, so you can see if companies are posting those for you. We're also going to post career events that are happening on campus, and that'll help you get a good sense of what's going on. Almost all of our events in the fall will be virtual, so you can take advantage of those as alumni, and please do. We want you to engage with our employer base. And just as a reminder, why Handshake is so important for you all to take advantage of is there's really jobs for everyone. So it's not just an entry-level job board. So if you're looking for something with 5 years of experience, some of that will be on there. And it's really personalized to you. So it's an amazing resource. Those that have made an account have started to see some really cool opportunities come their way. You can make a free profile from our website, which I'll give you that here at the end of the presentation. So some key resources and takeaways from our conversation today. So of course, I just talked about Handshake. So if you go to career.uccs.edu, you can go to the Handshake link and make your free profile as an alum. We'll get you approved pretty quickly. The alumni office has been great about making sure, confirming you're an alum and getting you into the system as quick as possible. LinkedIn and others have had really good, have some really good resources on who is actually hiring right now. So who's hiring, who has freezes, who's who's laying people off. It's good to know those things because sometimes you see a position online and it was posted a month ago and maybe things have changed. So it's always good to know if that company is being targeted. And then you can always schedule appointments with us. So just email the careers@uccs.edu email and you'll get set up with either me or Claire to meet with us and dive in further to your situation. So we're all about personalizing the career support that you guys need. A couple more webinars will still exist this summer that we want you all to take advantage of. So on August 5th, we'll do the Evolving Workplace in the Future. We're going to actually bring in some colleagues from around the state, some employers from around the state to talk a little bit about what's going on and what hiring's looking like. So that'll give you a good sense to know exactly what's coming forward in the workplace. And then on August 18th, one of my colleagues, Bree, is going to lead a workshop on design your work life. So if you're maybe not happy with the career that you're in, or feel like you're not in control of what's next, we're going to offer a workshop on how to really explore that and think about how to really design your work life for what you want. So this is a great time to do that. Those other webinars that you see that have the X's over them, those are previous webinars. We do have those posted on our YouTube page. I know the Alumni office posts them from their website. So if you missed something and you wanted to go back and see it, please take advantage. We'd love for you to watch that and help you kind of think about what's next. So now I left you with that spoiler at the beginning of an opportunity to connect with companies. We are going to be part of a multi-school alumni virtual career fair here in the region. So that's going to be on Wednesday, August 26th from 10 to 4, and it's online and it's completely free for you to attend as an alumni. So please take advantage of that. I know the Alumni office will be pushing that out via email. We're going to be pushing it out via social media and other sites. Again, this will be a broad diversity of companies, and I bet there'll be some remote work opportunities that exist from that virtual career fair. So no matter where you are, it's easy to do that. You can do it during a lunch period if you're working, and hopefully you can find an hour or two to log on. So if you have questions about that, don't hesitate to reach out to us. All right, so I will leave it open for questions. Please throw them in the chat. If you have questions for Claire or I or the alumni team, I know they're on as well, let us know. We'll stay on for about 5 to 10 minutes or so and answer any questions you have. But thank you for attending our webinar.